My name is Randy Kronk. I'm a proud alumnus of the State University of New York at Fredonia. I'm here with Bruce Simon, an associate professor of English at Fredonia. Bruce is promoting a petition to increase state support for the State University of New York and the City University of New York. And I've asked Bruce to come and provide some background on the petition. Hello, Bruce.
Hello, Randy. How you doing?
Good. So what does the petition call for?
So essentially, the petition calls for New York State to fund public higher ed like the public good it is. What I mean by that is we need more direct state operating support for our core academic mission.
How did the petition come about? Who organized it?
So the petition came about through action of the Fredonia University Senate Executive Committee. I'm the chair of the Senate, and it's the governance body for the Fredonia campus faculty and professional staff. We in November endorsed a SUNY UFS petition resolution that I helped write that laid out the basic philosophical framework that showed that the state had been essentially starving SUNY during the Cuomo years and before. It preceded the Great Recession, but it intensified during the Great Recession, and it never got restored. So that the impact on SUNY as a whole was something like $4.2 billion in inflation-adjusted cuts to direct state operating aid since fiscal year 09. So the University Faculty Senate statewide has been writing resolutions for years about the budget, urging the state to, instead of putting more and more burdens on students and on families, to reduce the costs and to increase the amount of direct state aid. The Fredonia University Senate endorsed that SUNY UFS resolution back in November. We wrote our own resolution in December, adding some features that we thought would be specific to Fredonia that would be helpful. And then we waited to, obviously we contacted the governor, we encouraged the college council and the alumni association and the administration and faculty and students to contact the governor as well. But we essentially waited for the executive budget to come out. That came out in mid-January, and there were a lot of good things about it. But unfortunately, even though Governor Hochul is probably the best governor for SUNY in my career since 1998, I've been at Fredonia. I've seen many governors come and go. And Hochul is the biggest supporter of SUNY, that bigger even than Eliot Spitzer. However, her support has been largely directed towards four largest institutions: the university centers at Buffalo, Stonybrook, Albany, and Binghamton. Places like Fredonia have not yet seen the full potential of the benefit for her vision for SUNY to become the best public higher education system in the country. So the Fredonia University Senate Executive Committee charged me with putting together this petition, building support for it. So that's its origin story.
What do you say to critics who question giving more money to colleges with decreasing enrollments?
First of all, I think it's a great question. And we had considered including it in our endorsement back in November, but we decided, we didn't want to distort the message. But to those critics today, I would say I've crunched the numbers, and actually what happened was, if you go back to 2007, 2008, and you track our enrollments, which grew for about 5 years and only have declined in the past, like say 9 or 10 years. And then if you track the direct state operating aid, you'd see that even when our enrollments were rising, the direct state aid was falling. We actually fell to below 60% of that level while our enrollment was still rising. And then, still, even to this day, the latest data we have is for last fiscal year 22. And even though our enrollments have declined pretty precipitously, right? The state budget cut is actually still deeper than our enrollment drop. So if you add it up in just nominal dollars, non-inflation adjusted dollars, let me actually give you the numbers. We have lost, we have lost a total of $75,812,000 in nominal dollars. Now, if you say since 2007, 2008, that's without an enrollment adjustment. But let's say the state had cut us just by the amount that enrollment had been cut, and raised it when enrollment was going up. If you do an enrollment adjusted shortfall, it's still $56.9 million. Now you want to talk inflation. What that means is just based on where we were in 2007 to 2008, we've lost 136.5 million in inflation adjusted dollars. And then if you also make an enrollment adjustment, that's still almost $110 million loss, 109.7. So even though, yes, our enrollments have declined, the state's decline in support has outpaced that. And in fact, maybe a cause of it, right? Because if students see that they have to pay more and the state is investing less, it could drive down demand. And my third answer is that what does a business do when they see declining demand? Usually they lower prices, they don't raise prices. But in fact, Governor Hochul, in her executive budget proposal, instead of increasing direct state aid to places like Fredonia or Buff State or Geneseo or Brockport, she's proposing a 3% tuition hike for us and up to a 6% above that tuition hike for the 4 university centers. So again, why raise prices when demand seems to be going down? You should be looking for ways to make college more affordable. You should be looking for ways to make college a better value proposition for the students who want to come to SUNY, and you should invest in their success. That's my answer.
Have you seen any impacts from this decrease in state aid?
Oh, you would not believe the impacts. Our history department is about half the size of what it used to be. Our political science department is about half the size of what it used to be. Our philosophy department, which in the mid-90s was one of the jewels of the SUNY system, now has 1 tenured faculty member. Even in my own department, English, we've lost probably 8 or 9 faculty members just in my time here, tenure-track faculty members. We only have 1 tenure-track faculty member in the entire faculty. So when my generation retires, who's going to replace us, right? That's a big question. So, you could point up and down across the board, especially in the humanities, but not just in the humanities. It's a much deeper problem. One way that we've dealt with the structural deficits that have happened due to nominally flat budgets, but real cuts, is we've been asking our Faculty Student Association, which runs our bookstore, our food service, to invest more in our budget, in our operating budget, instead of, say, investing in our dorms or investing in our food, right? So the quality of our housing stock, the quality of our food services, students are not happy with either, right? So again, that's a direct effect of our having to scramble to cover a structural deficit that's caused largely by us being down now to about 50%, below 50% of where the direct state aid was just in 2007 and 2008 in inflation adjusted dollars.
Wow. So you're running this petition through change.org, which also includes a request for donations. What are the donations for?
So I was looking at that because I actually didn't know the answer to that, but I'm looking at the dashboard right now, and I want to thank you for the $8 that you donated. It resulted in 107 new views and 5 signatures. So they put it into promoting the petition. Now, I don't know if they take a cut. I would have to look at their terms and conditions here, but looking at the dashboard, we've had 6 promoters give $28, which has resulted in 28 signatures out of our 235 so far.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what's been the response so far in terms of signatures.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The petition has been viewed almost 1,800 times, and so we're at about a 13% signature rate. We're trying to bump that up. The tweet that I did to promote it has had 15,000 views, which is about 100 times more than a typical tweet of mine.
Wow. When did the petition drive start?
So we started, I believe, on February 16th or 17th. So it's only been in existence for a couple of weeks now. And, we're trying to get as many signatures as we can by the time the new Chancellor John King, comes on Monday. But, Monday is just March 6th. April 1st is the deadline for the governor and the state legislative leaders to come up with an enacted budget to complete their negotiations. So we're going to continue trying to promote this petition all through the month of March. The good news is Monica Wallace, an assemblyman from Western New York, came out with an editorial in the Buffalo News just a couple days ago, essentially supporting our petition, essentially supporting the core ideas of our petition. So we've shared it with local legislators. We've shared it with the chairs of the higher ed committees, which are going to hold budget hearings, fairly soon. We've shared it with the governor, of course, and with Assemblyman Goodell and Senator Borrello, who I had very good conversations with. So I'm seeing bipartisan support for this core idea that places like Fredonia are anchors of community, are pathways to the middle class and beyond, are kind of key to the fabric of Northern Chautauqua County and their surrounding regions, and that we need to fund them like the public goods that they are.
Well, thank you very much, Bruce. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the results are. And I'm very anxious to see what the chancellor will say on Monday. So I guess we'll all stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you so much, Randy, for the time. And I'm just wondering, do you want a preview of some coming attractions for what we're going to be working on in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Sure.
So one of the things I've been doing is comparing SUNY and New York to other states. And, we point out in the petition that that SUNY and New York are near the bottom of the pack nationally when it comes to the gap between New York's wealth and its capacity to support higher education and its actual support, the will, the effort, right? So we point out that, for instance, we're in the 40s nationally when it comes to support per $1,000 of personal wealth, personal income. And we're in the 40s when it comes to percentage of the state budget that's actually allocated to public higher ed. So what are some states that are ranking higher than us? One of the really surprising things I found, and this is definitely something that I did not expect, is we know that New York is great at giving financial aid to students. We're actually ranked 10th in the country in fiscal year 21 for the amount of financial aid that we give per full-time student. Guess who's ahead of us? Florida. So Florida, the state that is known for censorship, that is known for the Don't Say Gay bill, anti-woke indoctrination, Governor DeSantis is building a national profile attacking higher education. He's taken over a board of trustees and staffed it with conservative ideologues and propagandists. They are 8th highest in the country in state financial aid per FTE. When you look at student share of revenues for public higher education system, which is another key stat to think about, like, how much is the state covering the costs of operation for its public universities? How much are students and families covering that? New York is not bad. We're 10th lowest at about 31.7% in fiscal year 21. Well, Florida is lower than us. They're at 21.7. So in other words, Florida is a socialist paradise compared to New York when it comes to the proportion of funding that students and families have to bear to keep the public systems operating. It's ridiculous. By contrast, when you look at higher ed allocations per FTE, state like Illinois is close to $19,000 a student. They're second highest. We're 6th. We're not bad. 12,400. But since when is it okay for New York to just be not bad, right? We should be number 1.
Right.
If we were more like Illinois when it came to higher ed allocations, more like Florida when it came to financial aid and lowering the cost of tuition, we can easily become a national leader. And I'm wearing my Bills hat for a reason, right? My friends at CUNY will hold up signs like "Fund us like a stadium," right? But I actually want to thank the governor, who's a Western New Yorker, for ensuring that the bills are going to be here during my lifetime, and that finally we'll have a chance for many, many, many Super Bowls. While I'm still around and kicking, I want to see places like Fredonia and Brockport and Geneseo as well situated for the next 30 years. So we're actually going to be going bigger than the state unions have been going, which is a great campaign that we support, a new deal for higher ed in New York. They're actually calling for hundreds of millions of dollars for places like Fredonia to the direct state operating aid. So having a huge union like NYSUN on our side is great. But let's say Fredonia gets 8 million out of that. That is a drop in the bucket compared to those numbers that I told you before.
Yes.
We're going to be arguing for a much bigger infusion, a targeted infusion. Say that you're investing in places like Fredonia, say over the next 4, 5, 6 years, dig us out of that hole, put a ladder down. You can't keep digging to get out of a hole. You got to help us climb out of the hole that your predecessors have created, Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul, my daughters are graduates of the same high school you went to. Well, one of them is still at Hamburg High School. Our education program has a pipeline at Fredonia to send teachers and to train teachers at Hamburg. If Fredonia were to be somehow so disinvested in by the state that it would need to close or merge, what would happen to all the teachers that we produce, all the social workers that we produce, all the new investments that we're making in programs like clinical mental health counseling and nursing? We produce the people who serve the citizens of New York, and we provide a tax base. The return on investment is incredible. 817%, the last study that I saw for all of SUNY. So it's there's money that could be taken away from reserves. There's money that could be taken away from investing in kind of pie in the sky economic development kind of schemes like the Buffalo Billion, 750 million of which went to Elon Musk. We could, SUNY is a sure thing. SUNY is a sure investment. And we know that the benefits don't just accrue to individuals. This is the core problem. People think, oh, $1 million over the course of your earnings, you should pay your way to college. But in fact, people who have studied it have said that 1/3 of the total benefit of an individual getting a college degree goes to that individual. 2/3 goes to the rest of us. So if we funded our public education systems, public higher education systems, with that idea of the state ought to put in about 2/3 of the operating cost, and students and families should put in no more than 1/3 of the operating cost, and we're really honest about what those operating costs are, we can make SUNY more affordable, better quality, and have it be there for future citizens of New York well beyond the 30 years that the bills are going to be in New York for sure. So that's my closing pitch.
Excellent, excellent, Bruce. Well, thank you very much. And again, looking forward to seeing the results. And I'm so grateful for your enthusiasm.
Thanks, Randy. I really appreciate what you're doing as well. Thanks for interviewing my colleague, Christina Jarvis, as well. I'm going to tweet out about the wonderful interview you did with her.